and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of March 21st. I'm Catherine Aleko, and I'm here with Terry Morrow.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast, we talk about parenting issues, but once a week, Terry and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. So this week, we continued with our 2 TV series that we are watching As We See It from sunny California in the present day, and The Gilded Age, New York City of the 1880s.
And yet both about people trying to be normal and accepted and betrayal.
Really? So we'll start with As We See It. This was, we watched episode 7. It was called Outed. And it had kind of multiple meanings. You know, Harrison was betrayed by Mandy, you know, by seeing Mandy kiss Van.
Feels betrayed by Mandy. I don't know that. I mean, what Mandy did was incredibly stupid, but I don't think she was cheating on Harrison.
Right.
She betrayed her boyfriend for sure.
Yes.
And possibly Violet, but still. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
He felt betrayed.
So
for sure.
He felt betrayed, and he decided to go to Beverly Hills and talk to his sister about moving to San Diego with her. And of course, gets lost, and it's so scary and sad and upsetting because he's basically on the street corner.
And the hero of this story is the tracking devices that we all use to find where people are.
If it wasn't for like Life 360 or Find My Friends or whatever, Mandy would not have been able to track him down.
Yes. If this had been on Apple TV, I would have smelled a rat, but okay.
Yes. So Outed in one sense was, you know, Harrison sort of realizing this about Mandy and going out of the apartment, which he never does. Also, Jack realizing that he is not passing as a neurotypical person. People know that he is on the spectrum. And that kind of takes him aback at first.
Yeah, Jack, I'm pretty sure everybody knows.
But Jack, things are going fairly well for Jack in this episode. He's learning how to relate to Iwatomi, who continues to like him, kind of in spite of his often peculiar behavior.
Yeah. I keep expecting her to say I have a brother who's autistic, so I know all about this. It's fine. But she has not yet.
No. I mean, we didn't get to see Jack's dad in this episode. No. So, you know, obviously when I said things are going well for Jack, things are not going well in that area.
Yes. He has a lot of anxiety about his financial situation when his father dies, which of course is standing in for the other devastation he will experience.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's trying to, have a side gig of buying computers.
Yes. He's fixating on things he can change, which is at least a good idea, but still that is not all that is going on.
And he's trying to observe the behavior of people around him and, you know, fit in.
Yes. Yes.
Like when you were at the movie the way we were and all the women around you were crying.
Holy cow. Where did they drag that out from? There's no weepies in the past, like 50 years that would have been better.
I don't know, but it was cool. Like Jack and Iwatomi went on this date, and it was basically like an outdoor movie, like a drive-in, except everybody was sitting in a lawn chair with a blanket, and it did look fun. Looked very fun.
Yeah. Hard to, like yawn and stretch and put your arm around the girl, though, if you're both in separate lawn chairs.
Separate lawn chairs.
Does cramp one style, but I don't think Jack was up for that anyway.
Not quite. Yes.
Yeah. So he's been added as that. And how does it apply to Violet?
Well,
she's outed as having left Arby's for the reason she left Arby's.
Yes, that is true. She has a job interview that doesn't go too well. And Van is considering moving her to a residential facility. And that is terrifying to her.
Yeah. And she also is suddenly not unfriendly to Douglas. Douglas had an extremely good episode. He is psyched.
Right. He is.
She didn't drop him in the trust exercise, and she talked to him in the bookstore, and she Zoomed with him.
She told him he could Zoom her.
He's checking out wedding dresses right now. No, yeah, but I know that we are supposed to think Van wanting to have her in a facility is the most terrible thing in the world and what horribleness. But I gotta say, I don't think this apartment thing is working out.
Mm-hmm.
2 out of the 3 roommates have been put in physical danger because Mandy was unavailable to them at the moment when they needed assistance.
Right.
Because she was off doing something with the third. I think Jack could probably, like Douglas, be in his own apartment. And I think that Violet and Harrison need more, I wouldn't say supervision, but support.
Yeah.
She knows she can't just leave Harrison in the house and he's going to stay put. He's done this once before. So it's like, I'm sympathetic with Van, who thinks he can't watch her every second and make sure she's not going to make an unsafe decision. And yes, she's allowed to live her life, but there are bad people out there. I mean, Julian was not nearly as bad as he could have been.
Right.
And there are much worse. So maybe what she needs is a more intensive supported apartment situation, which I would honestly expect this to have been. I don't quite get this. This must be something that parents cobbled together to create a situation for their kids. But I don't know why Harrison's mom would be cool with the way it is if she knows the way it is.
Right.
I guess they just think that Harrison's never going to leave the house, but they're trying to get him to be able to leave the house. That's a goal for him, to be able to leave the house.
Exactly.
So both of these times where he's gone off and done something incredibly dangerous and possibly, in this case, really bad things going to happen. And the other one, he could have got arrested.
Yeah, well, I mean, at a minimum, they need someone there 24 hours a day,
absolutely. And they need maybe multiple people. Because if she has to go take Violet to her job interview, somebody's got to be around for Harrison. At least in the building, at least on call, watching the front door.
Right.
I don't know. It's just, it seems, maybe Violet doesn't quite need a residential facility, but she needs
more than what she's
getting. And also she just I don't understand the job situation here either, because I would have thought the Arby's thing was like supported employment, that she was placed there by an agency, but apparently not. Apparently she just got the job, which I just get my kids' jobs. They're not in any supported things, but they're also not getting in the kind of trouble Violet's getting into.
Right.
So this all seems to me to be fictional, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't think it works this way. And I mean, I guess I could just with another parent say, hey, my kids would like to live independently. Why don't we get an apartment that they all can live in, and we'll get somebody to help them out sometimes. Maybe that's a thing that happens, but I don't think it happens with Harrison. I'm not sure it happens with Violet.
Right.
I don't know. I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about, but it just seems like,
well, yeah. I mean, it seems like Van is
ideal situation. And I think Van has a point.
Well, and he's sort of like, okay, what are my other options? Like,
it's like, if you're not going to do your job, I have to do this terrible thing.
Right.
Because she's not doing her job. Right. She really is a mess.
Or she's being asked to do.
She's been asked to do,
to split herself into 3 or 4, and she just can't do that.
Yeah.
So it did allow us to have a nice scene at the end of the episode where the 3 roommates were
that was very sweet,
all together and just kind of comforting and supporting each other in the way that they know how to do.
Right.
So,
and then of course Harrison mentioned that. Oh, by the way, Violet, your brother,
right?
And Mandy.
Well, he said Mandy loves another, and then Jack said it's Van.
Right. So that's true. That's true. Harrison didn't out them in that case. It was Jack, and the look on Violet's face was fairly stunned. So, look, your brother misbehaves too.
Right.
But they sort of unconvincingly said to each other all the things we said last week about why this was a bad idea, Mandy and Van. But then they looked longingly at one another's cars. Well, Van was sitting in his car looking like he wanted to see her, and then she was driving away. So, and her boyfriend, when she finally FaceTimed him, did not look happy. Oh, Mandy, Mandy, Mandy.
Because she left him on red for a long time.
She did.
Without replying.
Oh, dear. I don't know. She needs to possibly spend some time on herself. Would be a good idea.
Well, she has an opening in her schedule because she's not
going to the party.
She's no longer invited to Harrison's sister's party.
Well, as long as nobody else needs her. I feel like probably she's using these people's problems to avoid dealing with her own, which is not a typical thing, but not healthy. And since they are actually not her responsibility other than professionally, she really should. I'd like her to be there next season, but perhaps on a shift with additional people and a life on the side. Baby, you need a life on the side. Well, or you could live down in the basement and just constantly be at their beck and call and never leave and never go across the street or to visit a monk who doesn't eat or any of these things. You could just be in constant service like the folks on the Gilded Age.
That's right. So let's shift over there.
Yes.
To an episode deliciously titled Heads Have Rolled for Less.
Yes.
Which, of course, Christine Baranski got to deliver that line. And it was to her butler who accepted $100 to act as the butler over at the Russell's house for an important luncheon.
Yes.
And how he thought he was going to get away with this, I do not know. I mean, buddy, it's
right across the street, man.
And there's many people involved.
Yes.
Including the other butler who was not happy and pretty sure he's the one who tipped off.
Well, yes,
Agnes.
I was going to say, who do we think, speaking of outed, who do we think has tipped off Mrs. Van Ryn to the betrayal of her butler?
Yes.
Well, it could be the butler from the other house. It could be the unpleasant housekeeper who we were just starting to feel sorry for, but obviously is not to be trusted. Mrs. Van Ryn had just told her stop being bigoted to Peggy, so she might have enjoyed getting the butler in trouble. It could have been the devious lady's maid from Mrs. Russell's house, although she was out strolling with Mrs. Van Ryn's son at the time, so perhaps the timing doesn't work out. But fortunately, the housekeeper saw that as well and immediately ratted Oscar out to his mother, therefore possibly letting the butler off the hook because he is no longer the worst betrayal. But
yes,
do you buy Mrs. Van Ryn, as we have known her thus far, storming across the street and bursting into a party?
Without a hat,
without a cloak, without a footman, just getting up from her dinner table and storming across the street. I think that she would more likely just have the butler's belongings on the stoop waiting for him when he came back, with not so much as a curt word, not so much as a heads have rolled for less. She would just make his head roll, and that would be it. I mean, it made for a lovely scene, and also her having to accept that, she's going down.
Right. That Bertha is
winning.
Is clawing her way up.
Exactly. And that she is in a minority.
Pretty unstoppable.
Yeah. And that much is arrayed against her. And that is heartbreaking enough. And I'm glad she didn't take it any farther. But I don't think she would have put herself into that position. What was she going to do if she found her butler over there? Like take him by his ear and drag him back
across the street.
It's just does not seem. I mean, it makes a nice dramatic scene and it illustrates the changing of the guard theoretically, although other events may change it back. But I don't think so. Maybe Christine Baranski said, look, I've been sitting on this show for the entire bleeping time. Can I walk, please? I'm losing circulation in my feet. So I don't know. That seemed unlikely, but still fun.
Yes, very fun.
And heartbreaking as she saw everybody who was in that room and them charitably giving her an out.
Oh, she must have just misread the time.
Yes.
Yes, she was just coming to pay a social call.
Without a hat. Did we mention that she will be the talk of the town? Oh, and had she only known that her niece was not only dining with Mrs. Russell, but consorting with Mrs. Chamberlain.
Oh, yes, my goodness.
Not Mrs. Chamberlain, who actually seems quite kind.
Right.
And much more, what's the word? Resigned to her fate than the unfortunate Mrs. Morris.
Oh my gosh, who just will not give it up.
Right. So do we feel that she paid the guy to put the subpar axles in and like provided some signature from George Russell to?
I don't know.
Probably she's not capable of doing that. But
that seems.
She would like to be capable of doing that.
She certainly would.
Clara Barton continues to be
delightful. Quite willing
will provide good quotes for hire. The size of your check determines how enthusiastic a quote I give to the press. Is, my husband was in the room when I was watching this and saying, do they have historical background for this? Is this true? Is this really true? And it says, well, it's fiction, but I bet there's a record of Clara Barton not really caring where the money comes from, just as long as there's money.
Right.
Why would she? Why would she care? What possible good would it do her to turn down people who have money that they wish to give away? She's trying to, save people's lives here. Right.
She doesn't care about the old society being protected.
Right.
She does.
But the particularly delightful detail in the Gilded Age is how much she just kind of digs it.
Yeah.
She kind of enjoys tweaking the people who are disturbed by this. And I hope that the real Clara Barton was the same way and did not just go out into the hall and say to Mrs. Russell, I'll take your money, but don't let us see you. She's like, come on in, be on my board.
And if she makes people,
I shall force them to.
She makes people show of hands if they're going to let her in, and she just shames them until they do it.
Except for Mrs. Morris. Mrs. Morris will not be ashamed. She will just leave with damning words. I'm surprised with her disgraced husband, she's still allowed in polite society. Wouldn't that kind of let you out?
I know. And she doesn't have any money anymore. So why did they?
Right. Why is she even there? Oh, well. Yeah. So much going on in this episode. Quite a bit.
Yes. I laughed out loud multiple times.
Yes.
And the doll tea party, that was
what the heck?
Some weird stuff that Mamie Fish, who's a real person who apparently did do wackadoodle stuff like this, had a tea party, and Gladys got to go, and
because the young Miss Astor was going to be there,
and because Larry,
so social climbing
her brother, went there with her. Yes. So these two, her
adorable brother,
young adults show up at this party where you're expected to take a doll and make sure she has enough to eat.
And Gladys is thinking, well, maybe I don't really need to be out. Maybe this is all right.
This is what I'm to look forward to. I don't know. So.
Yeah, maybe I'm more comfortable at home. But she does make the acquaintance and form a friendship with young Miss Astor.
That's right. They bond over their controlling mothers.
Exactly. And then, Bertha is just so delighted that Miss Astor comes over to spend some time with Gladys. And you could just see her, little hearts coming from her eyes when she sees it. And so they shall form an alliance, those two young women. And I think that's just terrific. Yes. So
happy for them both.
It's the first time I haven't ended an episode thinking, poor Gladys. So
poor Gladys, who still has a dollhouse in her room.
That's right. But she doesn't feed the dolls tea. Right. Darn it, she has standards. Oh man. Man, she showed some spirit this time, but poor her in general. Yes. But I'm glad she has a friend who is probably under more pressure even than she. So I don't imagine it's easy to be Mrs. Astor's daughter.
That is for sure.
And I imagine she has an abundance of suitors, none of whom are appropriate. Oh, man.
We got a glimpse of Audra McDonald, Peggy's mother.
Yes, that was a lovely little scene. So sad.
Peggy went to, I don't even remember what her like stated reason was for showing up, making the long journey to Brooklyn just to be like, okay, well, I got to go.
Yeah.
But who cares, because that gave us Audra McDonald playing the piano. And sharing a little scene where they got to talk about Peggy's success in writing about Clara Barton for the newspaper.
Yes, and Clara Barton continued in this episode to be lovely to Peggy, so another plus for her.
And apparently Peggy's article about her was so good that it brought in new subscriptions for the newspaper.
Yes. So she's on her way up, Peggy. But the housekeeper does not approve. What if she writes something about Mrs. Van Ryn? I mean, sure, the butler's working for the enemy, and so is the son, but let's worry about the girl possibly writing something. Oh, we try so hard to feel sorry for you, housekeeper lady, but you are most unpleasant. Yes. Deborah Monk would very much like an episode in which that woman smiles, but I don't think she's going to eat. My lips are going to stick like this. Please, one smile.
Yes, I think she's actually, I now understand that she's the lady's maid and not the housekeeper. Oh, is she? But okay. Not that it really matters. All right.
Unpleasant woman is the IMDb designation. Oh, well, we know you have it hard, ma'am, but perhaps you could be less.
Yes.
Well, is there a housekeeper?
I was trying to figure that out. I don't know, because there's a cook. They like
multitasking?
There's the cook who's the one who has the gambling debt.
Uh-huh.
And there's the Irish maid who's more of a housemaid. Right. And then there's the New York accent guy, Newsies.
Yeah.
Newsies sounding footman, and who has to adorably try to sub for the butler when the butler is across the street. Oh my.
Yeah. He was adorable. How could you be mad about that?
But yeah, I don't know who.
Ada so nicely says, Can I have something to eat? Oh dear, poor guy. But well, and then there's the butler. So is there no housekeeper?
There isn't.
Have you just not seen her?
Maybe there isn't a housekeeper,
or the housekeeper doubles as the lady's maid.
Right.
I don't know. It's so hard to figure this out. Do they have a subpar staff? Do they have less staff than across the street?
Yeah, well, I believe that they certainly do, because across the street is about 3 or 4 times bigger, and
perhaps they could lend. Perhaps they could lend to somebody. Oh, don't lend the lady's maid.
Nope.
You don't want her in there.
Don't want her.
Yikes. Oh, Gladys, beware of Oscar. Mm-hmm. He's coming for you, sweetie.
I don't know, though. I don't think George is going to.
No, but that's why he must show his sympathy, so he gets into his good graces when he's vulnerable.
Well.
Oh dear.
We'll see.
I thought he was going to be just vulnerable enough to maybe entertain the advances of the lady's maid, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, you're right.
Mrs. Bertha was a little too much on the me. Never mind the dead people. Don't mess up my social climbing.
Right. It's actually working now.
He seemed displeased by that, and displeased by having to dispense with Gladys's suitor and all that. So it seems like there's maybe some little wedges between. Right. But let's hope not.
Yeah.
I would not like to see that.
Oh, thank you.
It is not nice.
Well, next week.
Such complications.
I know. Next week is the season finale of As We See It.
Oh,
it is called Please Don't Leave. So that could certainly have many meanings.
It really could. None of which I really like.
I know, I don't really like any of them.
Mandy's going to leave because she really needs to. But
so then the Gilded Age, we're up to episode 7, and it's called Irresistible Change.
Which that does not sound good for Mrs. Van Ryn.
Yeah, that has been.
She would not approve.
Nope.
Oh, well.
So that's going to be it for round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes. We have something new for you every weekday. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Bye, Terry.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye, everyone.